2026 season is officially underway, and it didn't go the way Columbus had hoped. The Columbus Crew walk out of Providence Park with a 3-2 loss to the Portland Timbers in a season opener that had everything: goals, momentum swings, defensive lapses, and late match drama. So, what actually went wrong? Was it early season rust, poor game state management, issues in defensive transition, or did Portland simply execute better in the key moments? Welcome into the Wisemen Say, a Columbus soccer podcast. I'm your host, Ty Fisher, alongside Derek Abbott, and Jared Lucas will be joining us later. And today we're breaking down the tactical story of the match, the individual performances that stood out, both good and concerning, and what this result tells us about the ceiling of this team heading into Matchday 2. Because here's the reality. It's one game in a long MLS season, but patterns show up early. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Derek, my friend. First off, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I am doing pretty well on this fine Wednesday. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Yeah, fine Wednesday itself. I slept in till like 11:30 today, and
Oh, jealous.
yeah, I know, right? It was been a good day. I got everything done for the show. As you can see, new layout and whatnot. So
Love it.
that's awesome. Man, it says, "What's up, guys? How are you?" Turn up Derek's mic. Most definitely, I would definitely do that.
Ooh, thank you, Manny.
There we go. Um, yeah, and just I'm eager to see what your thoughts are on this game.
Yes, it had everything.
Um, I liked. Let's just general thoughts on the game. I liked what I saw. I within the first like 10 minutes, right?
hmm
Yeah, early, obviously within the first 10 minutes we get a goal.
Yeah,
Wassam Abu Ali gets started, but then it's just like we start playing a lot more conservatively. It seemed like it was just like last year.
hmm
So I don't know if it's just because like the jitters and first game under a new coach, whatnot. So just what were your thoughts?
yeah. It felt like, especially in those first 10 minutes, we came out almost like I think, kind of like what we talked about, where the expectations from the team would probably never say this, but realistically, when you're putting in that new system, expectations are kind of you know zero, or you don't really know, so you just go with what you have been learning the past month, and it seemed to work really well. And I think after that first goal, it's very, I don't know if necessarily, I wouldn't say necessarily that they like kind of strung away from what they were doing in those first 10 minutes, as much as, like you said, they got a little conservative, and maybe in their minds they executed what they were trying to do, and they did it so quickly that there might have been a sense of like false confidence, perhaps, and that they didn't need to go at that level that they started off as, because they felt comfortable with, like, look, we executed this, now we can just control the whole thing. And I mentioned that at the end of last week, that I wanted to see that from them: control, play how you want to play. But I think, to
Yeah.
your point, it ended up looking a little more conservative than I think what coach wanted as well. And I think he kind of came out and more or less said that. And I don't remember if I texted you guys this afterwards, but one thing that I really thought about after the game and the subsequent days after is really thinking about the defense. And we'll get into kind of the offensive side of it, but just like a point to throw out there is, last year at the end of the season, defense was really what we were kind of harping on, especially
Yeah.
towards the end of those games.
Hmm.
And I think one thing that I didn't hear a lot of people talking about, at least not from what I was seeing online. I certainly wasn't even thinking about it because of all the signings and the new coach and the new system. We're focusing on a lot of those things. Is, in this type of system, you're trying to create chances. But if they hit you with, a counter, or you make an errant pass or something because you're trying to create these chances, the defense has to be ready to go. And realistically, it's not just the back line, but it's, almost the entire team. And I think when you had Morera out, which I didn't
Hmm.
think much about at the time, but I think the defense, we didn't do a lot to improve it. And we did kind of touch on how that back line is still thin in our, and kind of our at least opinion of it. And I think we saw that, not just it being thin, but just kind of the same thing. I think coach also said that after the game is we looked like what we did last year, which I love that he did all that research to know what our issues were last year. But it's definitely a little bit, have to take a step back, and it's a little bit, below what my expectations were when I factor that in to the defense. Really, if we didn't strengthen it in terms of players, did we change anything, so to speak, that's going to make them improve? Like, is anybody going to take that step forward? And I think with some of these players, like Rudy and some others, and he obviously probably still had a lot of rust on him. We just there, that level was not there of where it needed to be at. And like Amundsen especially, I think kind of got caught flat-footed a few times, where I think he helped out a lot. And just some of those things overall. But I liked what we saw from the offense. In the grand scheme of things, there's a lot of fine tuning that can happen, but um, it's a better start than what we saw under Nancy. So I see a lot of people being a little more negative on it than probably what I would be. But the defense does concern me more now than what it was going into last week.
And Manny brings up a good point, right? What does the front office have against signing a proper center back? I mean, yeah, the veteran presence of Camacho was nice. I personally would not have started him.
Hmm.
I think Chaberko would have been a more logical option.
Yes, totally agree.
Um, I mean, again, I get it, like veteran presence and whatnot. I think he's still not 100% coming off an injury from all of last season. I do think Chaberko would have been a better idea for center back. But I don't know. I mean, we talked about it here. Strong attacking stretches, defensive lapses, and key moments. I mean, I think the biggest one is that second goal for Portland, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason why Amundsen needs to make a diagonal run towards the guy Rudy Camacho is man marking. It
Yeah.
just leaves the other guy wide open. I mean, that's their second goal. The other one, I do think they could have cleared the ball a lot better on the first goal.
Hmm.
But then again, the strong attacking stretches. I mean, we capitalized on a mistake from Portland for Wes's goal within 7 minutes,
Hmm.
and then he sets up Rossi, who has a screamer
Oh yeah.
to tie it up right before halftime. Um, Transition vulnerability was exposed. I mean, as always, it's just a lot of sitting back and absorbing pressure. It was entertaining. It was an entertaining match. I will say I did like it,
Hmm.
but costly. We still have not won at Providence Park.
Yeah. Still.
So I mean, it's it's weird, right? So what went wrong? Obviously, the transition defense. Portland punished space behind the advanced fullbacks. I do think Max and Herrera were a little bit more too advanced than anything.
Hmm.
Um, I get it, but when you have to track back 60, 70 yards, especially on a counterattack, it's one of those. All right, it's kind of SOL. Um,
Yeah.
and the midfield recovery speed exposed. Obviously, Dylan Shambo gets replaced midway through the first half. So bringing in a cold Sadich was, I mean, it's the right move because we have no other center mid. But just it's, I don't know. What do we think about that transition defense?
Yeah, I think to your point too, like that was one of the things we really enjoyed about these guys that we have, Herrera, Max. They could really push the ball up the field. But it's interesting now that we're seeing it in practice or in play. In practice, I mean in terms of like in the game of this style that they're doing, is that we want guys like that. who can get in there and create those chances and do exactly what I expected them to do from a pushing the ball standpoint
Yep.
and getting it into those zones to create opportunities. But one thing I didn't anticipate, and who knows, it could easily be like a one game thing. They just need to get their legs under them. But those guys also being able to get back that fast on defense and being able to recover, like, because when you're sprinting forward and knowing you're getting into that chance creating zone, that's what they're naturally, really good and able to do. But when they have to pivot, turn around, and run all the way back, that's a different type of speed that you're using and like approach to it and everything. And I think that's really what we saw. And perhaps we really, quite honestly, needed something like that. It's better to have those issues now than after the World Cup break, in terms of teams exposing that area of you, because inevitably, with more in game practice, so to speak, of that, they should get more used to being able to do that. And so, and when you're playing, A/B squads in preseason and teams like Naples, like you're not getting a full simulation of what you should expect when you get it trapped into those situations. And so ultimately, I think it doesn't feel like it right now, but that could really help us probably in the future when we see it more often, because you're inevitably going to see it. I mean, it's a different system, but again, a lot of people, I'm sure, know that this is still somewhat of a Nancy system in and of itself. And so teams are still going to probably implement what they had learned in those past 3 years of eventually how to combat that. So you just need the guys to get on the same page and get comfortable with what their roles are kind of evolving into a little bit more. And so as of now, I'm not overly concerned, but certainly when you're watching it and you see those glaring issues, it feels like a bigger concern than hopefully what it ends up being over the long stretch of the season.
Game management, I mean, obviously momentum swings were not controlled, right? Because looking I'd probably say after Abu Ali's goal, up until about I would say 40th minute. I mean, we were just sitting back. We Portland had all the possession in the world, a lot of the ball, and then late defensive composure lacking. That third goal, Max Arfson is just letting Ariel Lassiter just run into that space. Amundsen's on the ground. I think he pulled up with a cramp or something like that. Um, but that I think the game management on the players' part, it was just poor.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I mean, and that's why I think back to the first point, point A in transition defense. Max Arfson is on the right hand side. He's normally on the left hand side, but he's so far up that it's more like he's playing a winger spot,
Yeah.
right?
Which worked out really well for us at times last year because he was scoring goals and different stuff like that. But ultimately, if we don't necessarily want that all the time, and Portland was able to capitalize on that when he did it this time. And so he's got to be more controlled when it comes to that. And I think, what you just had up there, like what Manny said about, having a proper friendly schedule, then closed scrimmages and that type of thing. And it makes me wonder, and I don't know if we'll ever get back to them, but like when we had these like mini tournaments where sometimes you weren't even playing MLS teams, you were playing like Phoenix Rising or I forget who our friends down in, I forget if it was like Carolina, one of the Carolinas or something like that.
The Carolina Challenge Cup.
Yes, the Carolina Challenge Cup. These were teams that were going to give you a bit of a game. And so, in those instances, you were getting more of a full feel for a game pace and everything. And I think, that certainly could go a long way and helping us out in the future and really getting them more comfortable with it. But yeah, I think really it's up to those guys in the back who are pushing the ball up to make sure that they're not over accelerating where they need to be at. Ultimately they're chance creators and we want them up there, but they don't need to be up to the point of like they're playing a winger. Like if you can break one out and get to the winger position and send one in for someone to try and score, or even yourself set yourself up to score, fantastic. But I don't think we want to see that consistently from them per se, because then you're leaving yourself really vulnerable to that counter where you're not able to you're going to be chasing them the entire time when you should be back on defense.
Mm-hmm. Um, I don't know what's happening here. I messed up something on the screen. Really quick. Wisemen Say listeners, quick reminder, the official Wisemen Say merch store is now live. Hoodies, tees, mugs, hats. If you rep the black and gold, we have got something for you. So go ahead and grab that new drop at the link in the episode description. Use promo code CruiseMas2026 for free shipping on orders of $75 or more. It supports the show, and obviously you look great doing it. Moving to the third one, finishing versus efficiency. We created chances. We created a crap ton of chances. However, I don't think we were clinical in our chances, right? You can create chances, but creating and being clinical are obviously way different than one another. In Portland, we're able to capitalize on their chances with their 3 goals. What do you think Columbus needed to do more of to, I think, be more lethal in the final third?
That's a good question. Um, it's hard to say right now. This is going to sound like maybe a bit of a cop out, but I feel like practice makes perfect a little bit. And I think they just need to be more comfortable in those scenarios. And we saw it last year. I mean, they struggled in the final third in a lot of cases. I mean, you looked at, I don't remember what that game was. It was at home where Gazdag felt like missed 7 shots in the box.
Oh
Like,
my.
like just it sometimes I feel like you have games like that for sure. I will chalk it up. I'm gonna take the easy road out and chalk it up to it's the first game right now. And we said this last week, like let until we get to like the third game, and after the third game, then let's kind of see where things sit. And the consistency of having games now, I think will really help them out with accomplishing what they want to do from a schematic sense.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, at least I don't, and I would argue a lot of people don't really question the ability of Abuali or Rossi at this point. I mean, we saw in the first game, they're definitely able to capitalize on these chances and score. But when you have so many chances, I think there's definitely, you need to be more fine tuned. And I think that's when you get to the point of being more clinical in these key moments. And Portland, they were down some guys, but clearly they had players that were, and one thing I'll say about them is like they have players that are very familiar with their system already. And we might to a degree, but we're also implementing new things. And I don't know, I felt very comfortable with learning about them after our conversation last week. But ultimately, that's where you're going to see a bit of discrepancy in terms of ability, and just not ability from the players, but like the ability from putting all the pieces together. And so I think that's what really was lacking and can certainly be fixed. I didn't see anything on the finishing and efficiency end that can't be fixed. The defense is maybe a little more of a question mark, or that meter's getting a little bit more towards like the concerned aspect. But when it comes to the actual, like, you know, the half of the field where you're trying to attack and score, I didn't feel as bad about. It's more of just the defensive side of it. And I think everything will kind of fall in place from the attacking side eventually. I think it's far more of the defensive end that I'm worried about. And so I think these players that we have, I feel very strongly about. I expect Gazdag to make a leap. Obviously didn't score in this game, but just in and of itself, I think, last year it was a bit of an anomaly from what we saw from any of the previous years he had under a different, system on a different team under a different coach. But I have a lot of faith in them moving forward. So I'm not as concerned about them, but certainly it was, not a red flag, but like, it was certainly a bit of, when you're initially watching it, you're concerned.
I was able to get the um press conference today
Hmm.
with coach, and I was gonna go, but obviously I woke up super late. But I'm intrigued to know why Kazakh didn't start.
Yeah, that was a little. We talked about that. I think when we were texting before the game, the lineup was a little interesting.
Hmm.
I think especially when you have um, like Abu Ali, who he said is not at 100% yet. I get starting him, but then he played almost the entire game, and then you have someone like Gazdag, who, as far as we know, is not injured.
Yeah.
And I think there were a few games last year where he came off the bench and actually played really well, but that's something to keep an eye on. It was just interesting that, to your point, like, why wouldn't he have been starting?
Yeah, and then you think about the lineup, right? You think about the players who missed time or who are coming back from injury. Wassam Abu Ali, Taha,
Hmm.
and Rudy. Those guys all started,
Yeah.
and they're not 100%. And Manny brought up a point. If we're going to have time limits on players, why are we starting them? I know the goal was to play West 60 minutes, but he pushed him to play a little bit longer. He came off holding his hamstring. Dylan, mid first half, comes off with a hamstring injury. He's out 2 to 3 weeks now. Um, Taha came off an injury. Rudy came off an injury. It'd be surprising to see if and when Mo gets back. He's probably going to get thrown right in too. He's coming off an injury. Um, if we're starting guys, if they're not 100%, I mean that could be also be why we lost. I mean,
Hmm.
coming off an injury and playing on turf is not the
No.
best.
Yeah.
It's not
So
the
true.
brightest idea.
No, no. And I think that's a really good point of you almost I would have almost preferred us to bring out their backups in their positions to start.
Yeah,
Actually probably would have felt better about that. And I get, like, you want to start off on the strong foot, which we did. And maybe this goes to something that we didn't necessarily chalk it up to at the beginning when we started talking about this, but really, you know, if these guys are injured and we're playing on turf, why not bring them in and have a shorter amount of time? And so
yeah,
you risk less injury. And it is the first game of the season. It's not. It's against a West Coast opponent. So ultimately, points matter, but not to necessarily the extent as most of the games that we'll play through this season. Obviously, so yeah, and I always forget about, like, them having turf that over there, because I don't know, in my mind, I keep thinking, like, Portland shouldn't have turf for whatever reason. Outdoor stadium, they've been around forever, like, it just doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to me, but, yeah, I think and maybe that's more of a scheduling thing. Maybe we don't start off the season on turf again.
yeah.
It seemed to me, when coach was talking today, and some of the highlights I saw of it, that he doesn't expect any of them to that have been, like, more injured, so to speak, than what they previously were, or at least this will be a good test to see how forward he is with his information to the rest of us. But Dylan getting hurt, obviously, I think he said like 2 weeks or something. That's
2 to 3
unfortunate
weeks.
for
Yep.
sure, and I'm slightly concerned about that. But overall, I think what Manny brought up, and what you said too, is a great point of why are we starting these guys, but then not starting Gazdag, and then and maybe their point was we weren't going to leave. Maybe the thought process was someone like Abu Ali was only going to play 60 minutes, and then Gazdag was going to come in and kind of be that other striker who can come in and kind of replace him, and they'll shift it around slightly, or whatever it may end up being. But that didn't happen, and I didn't see anybody ask him about that. And I think it's probably early. I don't. It's probably why nobody really asked about it too much. But it's definitely interesting and something we probably should keep an eye on a little bit. But again, first game of the season, I don't want to put too much stock in that. But if somebody did come up really injured in that game, that was going to be out like months or even longer than like a 2 week span, then
Hmm.
I would have a lot more questions about that for the coach, and overall, like, philosophy on that.
Man, it says Sadic and Taha midfield for Sporting Kansas City. I mean, that's likely.
Yeah.
If not, that's what it's going to be. However, what's to say that, Steven's back in training now, so maybe
Mhm.
he starts, right? Maybe Chaburko moves in to where Sean Zawatsky was. Zawatsky moves back up to center mid, and
Yeah.
it's Zawatsky and Taha.
That's what I would have liked. I would have liked Sean to be up, and I think I mentioned that right before the game when I saw the lineup too. Is like I wish we would have had him up more. I feel like that
Yeah.
probably would have helped, just based upon what we know of his ability and his ability to um, mentally be able to slot into different places and not really miss a beat in most cases. That would have been what I would have preferred. Versus then we got ourselves into kind of a situation where you didn't really have an opportunity to do that because we needed him on the back line and back there defending. And so it just kind of ended up being the way it was. But I also wonder if we, caught coach in like a moment of I don't want to say truthfulness because I don't think he's not being truthful, but I mean like if you get him to just like the Wonder Woman lasso of truth, where we could ask him like, if you were to like, if we suggest these changes, would you have changed these things, or like, any of these, would you have redone if you could go back and change them?
Yeah. Kind of something like off the record type thing. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
just like, hey,
just off the record.
yeah,
If this were to
if you
happen
could have
and
changed
these,
this, knowing what we know now, would you
yeah,
have changed that?
would you have changed it? Would the
Yeah,
outcome have been completely different? And I think yes. I think it would have been.
yeah, I agree.
Positive to build on though. Attack looked fluid at times. Individual brilliance showed up. High chance creation numbers. Energy level was strong. The big key takeaway though, the structure is intact, but the margins were not there.
Hmm.
And I think that comes into play with more so of this tight knit group that Portland has because Phil Neville's been there for about a year and a half, going on 2 years, I think it is. And Columbus obviously have a whole new coaching staff,
Hmm.
right? So I think that's where Portland got the better of us. I mean, we still have better possession, better shots. Shot 16 shots is ridiculous.
uh,
I'm not gonna. Of course, there was one game. I think it was like last year or 2 years ago. We had like what 20 something shots.
oh yeah, I
I can't
remember
remember
something
who it
just
was.
crazy.
So I mean, we obviously have you know the structure and margins were not intact though. So
Hmm.
there's just that. It's an early season reality check as Gerald joins the show. Um, Match day one overreactions are dangerous, and I have seen a lot of overreactions.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Um, Defensive chemistry takes time, especially bringing back in Rudy Camacho, who's been out due to injury. Um, MLS parity punishes small mistakes. This was not a collapse; it was just a correction, right?
Hmm.
And Gerald, as you come in, I just want to get your take on, you know, what is it that Portland was able to do besides put the ball in net more times than we did, that Columbus just could not do.
Take advantage of the midfield.
Oh, boom! There, see, there we go.
Perfect. Yeah.
There it is.
Speaking with speaking with Hendrick today, and speaking with Amar and Herrera, Amar said it the best that it was Portland respected Rossi and respected Wes, but it was they were able to take advantage of that midfield, right? And then speaking with Hendrick, it was he wants to play. He wants the midfield to at least one midfield to stay central, right, at all times, whether they have the ball or not. They don't. He doesn't want them to go forward because then that allows that central midfielder to be able to at least help there in that behind the midfield, right before the back line, right. And so Amir and Taha were dual sixes against Portland, and he is high on Taha. Says he sees the high potential in him, and he has him playing a different role than what he was in Nazi's system. Right? Andres Herrera said, the difference between Nazi and Coach Henrik Rydstrom is that with Nazi, the wing backs, he wanted him more in the attack, right? With Rydstrom, he wants them to be more direct, but also be able to defend.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like I said, he's real big on Taha. And I asked him today, I asked him that if when he got here to Columbus, did he watch how, because he was talking about the midfield, right? And I asked him, I said, with Darlington retiring, did you watch some of the previous games with Darlington? And how are you working to fill those shoes? And he's like, it's hard. It's hard to fill those, but it's at the same time he was very upfront. Like he was like, I need to structure the midfield better. He's a very upfront coach. He's not going to pull any punches. He's like, he's very critical of when talking with media. He's very upfront. And now to me, Ty, you've been covering the team a little bit longer, but Rydstrom's energy in, post game and also speaking with media during training sessions and things like that reminds me of Porter's early days. Giving a little more energy, being a little more upfront with things. Just being more direct with the media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I took that away, and I even talked with Chris Dorn, and I said, Coach's energy reminds me of Porter's early days. And he was like, yeah, that's when Porter was winning.
Yeah.
Oh, you heard that too, Manny, about Springsteen. It almost turned into like a music with Rydstrom, or music with Hendrik, corner. And then when he was talking about how he's like, he asked the team, what's the biggest thing in a relationship in this team? And everybody's like, trust. Well, how do you build trust? It's time. And he was like, it reminds me of the song You Can't Rush Love. And he said that Springsteen is the biggest star over there in Sweden. I didn't know that much, but
Yeah,
they
that's
love
news to me.
They love Bruce Springsteen over there. But no, he was very direct. Like there was times that they did good, but then Portland still was able to get through the midfield. And he said that there were some things that they could have trapped better. But now it's time to move on. And Amari even touched on it, today. Like, rather get that loss out now than in September, October, when you're fighting for a top 4 position and you lose a game on the road 3-2 like that in the 89th minute. It stings harder in October than it does in February. So, there's a lot of positives to take out of it, but it's also, the fact that he's trying to break those habits. And we saw that in that game, that some of the players resorted back to what felt comfortable, and that's not, Nazism. Because Nazi was there for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, last time we got a new head coach and they lost their first game of the damn season, what happened? I'm just saying. to all y'all that are being overly reacting, like you're about to jump off into the Grand Canyon. Relax.
Yeah, we don't need any Celtic tendencies over here. Plenty of time.
This episode of the Wisemen Say is brought to you by Sam's Club. If you're looking to save serious money this year on groceries, home essentials, tailgate supplies for crew Matchdays, now is the time to become a member. Right now, you can get 50% off a Sam's Club membership, which means wholesale pricing on everything from snacks and drinks to electronics and household items. Whether you're stocking up for watch parties, loading up on bulk buys for the family, or just trying to stretch your dollar a little bit further, this is one of the best membership deals available. To claim the offer, just click the Linktree link in our episode description and follow the Sam's Club membership link. It's quick, it's easy, and it pays for itself. Save smarter, shop bigger, and support the show at the same time. Turning the page now, Kansas City, Saturday, another road game. This team absolutely got demolished by San Jose. Dejan Joveljic, somehow, some way, is possibly on his way out. I don't know. I heard that he was gaining interest from other teams in MLS plus overseas. However, it's a bounce back opportunity. The defense needs to step up, and the resiliency that we've seen in the past needs to come out, right? What would you guys say are like one to two keys that this team can get 3 points?
Trust the process. Because I mean, you got to trust the process. You saw what happened in Portland. Now build on that, right? Work on some of the, and it came down to being mental errors, right? And Hendrick touched on it, that you're playing on turf, so the ball goes faster than it does on natural grass, right? So you're exerting more energy, and then it's like, okay, now it's like, do I go or do I stay? Should I go or should I stay, mentally? And it wore some of the players out. We saw that. Amundsen cramped right there at the 89th minute, and we lost 3-2. But it's build on the positives. Trust the process of fixing some of the mental areas. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus, we have more guys in the box against Portland than we did pretty much every game last year. Keep doing that. The more numbers you have in the box, the higher chances that you have on scoring a goal.
Yeah, I would agree with all those points. I think they were great. And I think especially to the point of you said about trusting the process and being able to, mentally that takes a little bit of time of like, my instinct is to keep going forward, but I know that what they want me to do is stay back. And immediately when you said this, it made me think, and this, might be a bit of a like left field analogy, but like in high school track, it's not me trying to live my glory years by any means, but like a high school track when you're in a like relay race, and the way, like, if you're not this person starting out of a block, you have to do like either your right foot or your left foot, and then decide like which foot you're going to push off of to take off running at the specific time that you need to do it so that the person can hand you the baton. And I distinctly remember always being a person who would push off of my right foot, but because of the way the person was coming in, I had to learn how to do it from my left foot instead. And that's something that I distinctly remember having to do, like practice for like weeks before the season started. And even through the first few meets, like my instinct was still to like push off of the wrong foot, even though that foot was on the ground and not like, planted in a certain way to be able to push off of it. And so I think like even those mental things, I think about like when you're learning something new or something that is not as traditional to you or what you were used to for the past few years, it does take a little bit of time of actually really practicing it in a game or competitive, environment to be able to do it. And so I think a lot of like being able to watch back on that and being like, hey, here's where we messed up. It's not like a burn the tape scenario. It's a here's things that we can capitalize on. This is what we want you to do. We trust that you're able to do it and that will help our team succeed. And then just being able to put that in actual practice versus just doing it when you're in physical practice, so to speak. So like learning those things about it. And I think just being able to mentally not worry about that game. Like Gerald says, the first one of the season, you got that out of the way. The players are already talking about getting it out of the way. So being able to mentally block that out, look forward to the next thing, and just understand what you need to do, and then executing exactly what they want you to do. If it doesn't work out, ultimately that's going to be on the coaches if the players are doing exactly what they're being told to do. So, just trust that type of process. And yeah, I think we already saw it. Like they're creating chances. They can score on those chances. We have the people to do it. I think, getting to that point of feeling very comfortable with it. Because honestly, the way it's set up, we should be creating even more chances than what we did last season per game. And so if you've got all the people in the box and you've already exhibited that in the first game, really it's just putting yourself in that position once it gets to that point to be able to execute at what you do best. I think that will go a long way. And Moreira coming back, he was practicing this week. I would imagine he's going to get some solid playing time unless there's something that we haven't heard of yet. And I would imagine as competitors, the defense is certainly going to look at that and say there were areas where we could absolutely have improved upon, and this is maybe not to the level of where we know that we can be at, and we need to make sure that we're putting a better effort forward in this next game.
So Chris Dorn pointed out something today that he thinks that the team didn't know how much they needed Moreira, how much they missed Moreira, right? And he said that having Moreira allows Andres Herrera to play his position more smoother.
I could see that.
And being able to play more direct and also, attack when he has a chance. So hopefully too, the team is still waiting for Nernan and also Andre Gomez's stuff to go through, but if he's healthy, I really think that Gomez can come in and command that midfield. So when it will allow Rossi to finally just play, be natural instead of having to play, both front, forward and mid, right? So, but Bangor is going to come. I think Bangor is going to have a breakout game though.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Against Kansas City.
I would like
because
that.
he's adapting really well, and according to coach. Yeah, so this is going to be fun going up against Peter Vermees-less Kansas City. Which they only have, 12 to 15 players on their roster?
Really?
They got a short roster.
Wow.
And they did just sign somebody today, so he ain't going to be here for crew, but, it is what it is. Our fearless leader's quiet.
4, 8, 12.
Oh, he does speak.
It's counting the.
I mean, they have a decent size roster. It's not massive.
I didn't realize that the roster we have now is like a full roster, and that Nancy. I mean, I do remember this now that I'm like saying it out loud, but that Nancy, we were never rolling with like a full roster typically.
No.
And I
No.
never really like paid much attention to that, but it's interesting to see. There's, we're now starting to see changes in philosophies, and I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't, roll out if not a full roster, then having one or two open at most, but having an advantage like that, it gives you a lot more of an ability to change what you're doing tactically and with just fresh legs than what you can do when you only have 20 or 21.
Subs. Hendrick did say that Rudy, Taha, and West was all supposed to only play 60 minutes. He's like, but he pushed him a little more. And he said today, the more they train and practice, the more we can push them in games. So when you look at it, they were only supposed to play 60 minutes. So subs were actually supposed to start coming in the 60th minute.
And who knows? That could have really helped. I don't know. At the end of the day, I would have, ultimately, I think that some defensive players would have really helped, but I don't know how many we have to be able to do that.
I think that Gazdog coming in at the 60th minute would have helped better than what he did, coming in when he did. I still think he should have came in at halftime, but I didn't get a chance to ask Coach that question because Arce was there, or Ayers, however you want to say his name. He was there, and he, I got taken away from asking the last two questions. But I was going to ask him about what's going on with Daniel. What went into his decision to put him on the bench to start the season, right? If you're a DP, you should be out there playing.
We brought that up earlier too, and I was thinking that maybe the idea was that he would come in for Westham and at the 60th minute or so, like if the initial plan was to not keep pushing him past what their initial plan was. But I have no idea ultimately.
But he is available. Westham is available though for Kansas City.
Yes, I did see
and
that.
Aliu is back. Morera's back. I don't know why Aliu's back, but
I was thinking of you when I saw that he said that.
I love the bipolarism, right? You go, Aliu, all right, I'll give him a chance, and then next thing you know, it's this guy needs out of my club.
Well, I mean, he's the first one I would put out if I'm trying to bring in somebody else. If I'm trying to bring in a center back, yeah, he's the first. Pirum, bye.
That's crazy.
Listen, I will get rid of him to bring Superman back, okay?
That would you bring Christian Ramirez back, Derek?
I mean, of course, the general just like crew fan in me is like, I want to, it'd be awesome to have him back on the team, but ultimately, I don't know how much of a difference he makes at this given point in time. Ask me again in a few weeks, and I might have a different opinion, I guess. But
sure,
I think he still brings that veteran off the bench, right?
Sure,
and that late game changer, right?
I was just going to say, coming in late in the game, I could certainly see a role for him in that, for sure.
He excelled coming off of the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he started, like a first half, it was a different story, right? Or he would come in at halftime. He'd be playing a little bit better because, he would already be able to see what the hell the other team is doing and be able to make adjustments in his head. But I really think him coming off the bench and coming in for Diego or coming in for Westham or, somebody like that. I would love to have him back.
I think the longer he sits out there, and it hasn't been long by any means, obviously, but like the longer he sits out there unsigned to a team, the chances might creep up a little bit.
And he's got a coaching license.
That's never a bad thing.
Boys, this episode is also brought to you by StubHub. If you're looking to be inside Scott's Miracle Grow field instead of yelling at your TV, StubHub has you covered. Whether it's the next Columbus Crew home match, a massive rivalry game, or even concerts and other live events, StubHub is one of the most trusted ticket marketplaces in the game. The best part, you can see your exact seat location before you buy, compare prices instantly, and secure tickets in just a few clicks. No scrambling, no guessing. Just get in the building. So if you're planning your next match day experience or deciding last minute that you need to be there, head to the link tree in our episode description and click the StubHub link to grab your tickets. Don't just watch the moment, be there for it. We were supposed to have somebody in from KC talking to us today, but he never got back to me. So there's that.
They might be trying to write a breaking news story.
Yeah, but what's 30 minutes out of the day, out of your evening, right?
We're talking about KC.
Yeah, the team that finished dead last in the West last year.
You picked the winner and spoon to this year too.
They actually finished worse than Galaxy last year. I don't think I put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
wow.
They did. Yeah.
Jeez.
Galaxy ended with like maybe 2 or 3 wins.
And they still finished above KC.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
All right. Well then, I guess we move to predictions now.
We should. Are you gonna? We got to show our update, our scores.
Oh yeah, thanks. Thank you.
I'm leading.
Yeah.
Yes,
you are.
Yes, we know. Really quick. Really quick. Where'd it go?
To
Here
be
it is.
winning, but damn it.
Here it is. Yep. After match day 1, Gerald has the lead with 1 point as he got the correct score. We decided to do the point system. If you get the correct score and team, it's 3 points. I think correct team, wrong score, 2 points. Correct score, wrong team, 1 point. If you get everything wrong, you just get 0 points. So me and Derek were absolutely troubled by that.
And I get the over on goals.
And he did. This guy needs to go buy a lottery ticket. That's match day 1 prediction totals after match day 1. I guess now match day 2. What are we looking at here? I'll start off with you, Derek.
I'm gonna go 3-1 Crew. I think that Kansas City is obviously not in a form that they would want to be in. I'm sure every fan of theirs would agree with that. From last year, now learning more about last year, to what we've seen so far this season. And I think everything that we've talked about, there can be things to improve upon. And I have the faith that they will be able to do that. And so I think what we saw, and Manny, yes, actually, I'm going to talk about this. So I think I want to have some more faith in the defense. I need to see another again, I set my bar at the 3-game stretch. I don't want to be too negative on them, but I definitely would like to see some changes. I think you have Moreira back. I think that's an absolute positive. And like Gerald said, when talking to some people, that it sounds like they kind of underestimated how much they need him. So I do think that will improve. If it means that somehow they can get Sean moved up into the mid a little bit more, that's ideal. And in my mind, that's an ideal setup for what I would like to see them do. I don't know if we'll see it this week, but regardless, I just think that we have too many good, scoring threats. And knowing what we know about Kansas City and their run of form this season and after last season, I think that we can certainly capitalize on what we saw that we did well already. So I do anticipate, I said 1 extra goal, but I don't want to go crazy on it, but I think that that's very realistic for them to be able to score 3. defense is what the defense is right now for what we know. So they give up one. And I feel good about the game. I'm gonna have to be watching on my phone, which is always kind of not as great of a viewing experience, admittedly. But I hope that we see some goals early on where I don't have to be as concerned as what I was in the Portland game, obviously, and giving up late goals and things like that. So I'm gonna go 3-1 Crew.
I'll let you go, Ty, because I'm looking at something.
Are you looking at FanDuel and whatnot?
Mm-mm.
Doing a little research.
No, I'm doing something else that's gonna help me with my pick.
All right. I guess I'll go while he's doing that. I am going to say, and this will,
Oh, he's
I have
talking
Apple
about
TV,
Derek.
Manny. I am going to be at a wedding, so I'll have to watch the stream on Apple TV on my phone.
Oh, I was like, wait, hold on. I'm pretty sure the match was on Apple TV.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 2-0 Columbus.
That's a good point. That's a good take. Derek, you said 3-1?
Yeah.
What was the final score last week?
3-0.
So kickoff is going to be 42 degrees.
It's 8:30 game, right? Our time?
Yeah.
8:30 our time, yep.
Okay.
It's going to be 42 degrees.
What's your score prediction, Manny? You think it's going to be 3-3 or something?
I think with the players that we have,
God damn.
I like that pick. I think Patrick finally gets out of his head.
That's something that we didn't bring up earlier, Derek.
Yeah, we did. We actually did not talk about Patrick whatsoever. You're right.
That first goal that went back post, or the first goal that went back post or far post, he should have came out sooner. Crew plays better in the cold weather. They have, over the last couple of years, it seems like the colder it is, the better they play. 4-0.
Ooh, you got more faith in the defense
than I do.
And any of us, Manny too.
Yeah, right. So, all right, hang on. We're gonna.
Manny, we do need
these notes down.
We do need Prime Schulte back. From what we're seeing so far, we're gonna need that absolutely.
We're gonna do MLS predictions. Gerald leads with 1 point. This is match day 2.
We're all something different too, which I like.
Right. Derek said 3-1. Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Derek said 3-1. Ty said 2-0. Gerald said 4-0. All righty. Yeah, really quick. Let's just touch on this for a hot second. Prime Schulte, I do think he was not at his best. And I recall seeing I think it was last Thursday. His roles changed a little bit, right? When the Nazi, he was on the ball a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess now it's not on the ball as much. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, can't do anything, pass back to the goalkeeper, kind of reset type thing. But he was on the ball a lot,
constantly.
Yeah, so I get it, not wanting him to be on the ball as much. But I do think that he could have been a lot better against Portland.
Well, I'm gonna say this again. His first game, even though they lost, he still played one hell of a game. Nancy lost his first game with Crew. 9 months later, 10 months later, we win a championship. This wasn't Schulte's best game. Hendrik Rydstrom loses his first game as a Crew coach. I'm just saying. 10 months later, we're going to be lifting the cup.
Let the record show. Gerald said that on record.
I like how he's unrelenting on that too. He's very adamant about, which I am here for. I love that confidence. I really hope you're right on that.
Look at the times Patrick has played in his home state. He shows out. He showed out against St. Louis. Yeah, we won. I think we either won or we drew.
We tied.
We drew. But he showed out with the saves.
Yeah.
Like he showed out like he was on steroids, back there. But it's something about being in your home state. You got family coming, that will come. He went to St. Louis University. Right? It's just something about.
Yeah, I was going to say they play in the Kansas side.
I thought they played in Missouri.
Nah.
I can never keep any of that straight.
I really thought that they played in Missouri.
Yeah, Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay, well.
You want to change your prediction?
No.
Just kidding.
Casey still sucks.
It's still, for a lot of people,
it's early.
We wouldn't even know the difference.
If they never went to Sporting Kansas City and they just stayed to Kansas City Wiz, then I'd be a little worried. But they don't embody the Kansas City Wizard mentality that they had back in the early days of MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Right? No. And I hate to say it about Columbus too, but none of the original 9 embodied what the mentalities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm putting Columbus in there because we lost that mentality. Look, it took us to go through a pandemic, a Save the Crew rally, a new coach that that ditched us to go to Scotland, that got embarrassed and spit out, chewed up and spit out in the middle of 9 games, 8 games, whatever the hell it was. But we lost that mentality for so long, right? We lost the mentality of America's hardest working team. And I think, I really think that Rydstrom can bring back that mentality. And if you go back and look at the teams and from 96 on, they played a lot of the coaching styles was more direct.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Ziggy. Ziggy liked to play possession based. Ziggy played Nazi ball for real. And was a master at it, right? But a lot of the Columbus teams, they were more direct. So I think the way that Rydstrom has them, playing, being more direct, I really think that they'll be hoisting the cup in December.
As much as I love the beanies, which they haven't said if they're going to continue that, I'd be shocked if they didn't. But they've been doing that for a while now. Instead of that, they need to give out everybody hard hats. Really get the true mentality back, and we're all out there wearing hard hats. We already have a jackhammer, so now we need to just up the game even further.
Manny cannot get rid of a proper center back.
Ownership that wants to get there. They might make bonehead decisions like playing in Cleveland and not signing a proper center back, but they got us Zelarayan, Cucho, Abu Ali, 3 trophies. Hey, I'm just saying.
Can't complain too much about that part of it. That is for sure.
That's the one. That's the one right there. Boys, anything else before we start signing off?
I can't wait till next week, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. It's wild to have 2 away games. They're probably doing it because of weather and stuff like that, but 2 away games.
I'm not used to this.
Talking about
I know what Gerald's talking about. which I gotta see if his internet trouble. Derek, I honestly think you gave your internet troubles to Gerald.
I'm not frozen.
You were for like a hot second.
Oh.
I passed them on. It's a new season. I passed them on to someone else.
Hey, fucker, I'm gonna send them right back to you.
I don't want them.
I don't want them.
Get them out of here. I don't want them.
I'm gonna call Breeze Line on you.
Go for it. I don't even have Breeze Line, so even better.
Okay. I'm gonna call Spectrum and tell them that you pirated.
Not Spectrum either.
Xfinity?
No.
This guy's rocking that Time Warner.
I got Uverse, baby. I got the fiber optics.
This guy. This guy's doing it big.
You should see if I took a picture of the pole that all the cables are coming from to my house, you would be shocked that I'm not losing internet connection every 5 seconds. Trust me. It's not a great setup.
She believes Cup is coming next week. I'm mad I didn't put my credentials in.
You need to get a better mic. That is true, Manny. I've got to work on that.
I got a mic for you, Derek. I got a mic for you.
I'm not going to say no.
I'm not.
It's a She Believes Cup. Are you either of you going to the game for the She Believes Cup?
Not this year.
No.
What day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah, I work that day.
I do not currently.
I'm in surgery that day.
I'll look and see. Maybe I will try to partake. I haven't looked at tickets, to be honest. I have a lot of stuff coming up, but I might see if I can make that work. I haven't been to one in a while.
Damn, so it's just going to be me next week. Holy shit. Okay, cool.
No, I'm free on Wednesday, but
okay.
I just am not going to it currently.
I'll be on. Trust me. My surgery is 6:30 in the morning.
Will you still have anesthesia or whatever is going on? Could be a very fun episode.
I'll try to see if they can make it stretch because I want to see what I'm like.
Well, fellas, that does it for the show. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications here on YouTube so you don't miss any reactions, previews, or live watch-alongs all season. If you're listening on audio, take a second to rate and review the podcast on your platform of choice. It's one of the easiest ways to help support the show and reach more Columbus Crew fans. You guys can follow us on social media on Twitter at WisemenPod, on Blue Sky at WisemenPod.bsky.social. You guys can follow us on Instagram at the Wisemen Say Podcast. Here on YouTube at Wisemen Say Podcast. You guys can follow Derek on social media
at Funky Moses 17.
You guys can follow Gerald on social media
at Gerald_Lucas96.
I've already did that.
Okay.
I'm on top of it, man. Trust me. I'm on top of it. I got it. We're good. You guys can follow me on social media on Twitter at FisherTyler__ and on Blue Sky at FisherTyler.bsky.social. And if you're heading to the match soon, check out our sponsor links in the description for Sam's Club and StubHub. Supporting them directly supports the show. And we'll be back next week with more crew coverage of KC and preview for the Chicago Fire game. Jeremy, my friend, as tradition goes.
Fire.
Jeremy, my friend, as tradition goes, Wisemen say.
Holy fools rush in.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good week. Stay safe, stay hydrated, stay cool. Hug your loved ones. Go Crew.
Go Crew.
Stay wise, y'all. Almost.
I like the monologue thing and the reads in the middle.
Why are we still live? I ended the stream, did I not? Oh, no, I